RWBY Volume 7, Episode 3, Ace Operatives. So this episode, of course, gives us our first pretty epic look at Ace Ops, and we get to see quite a few semblances, pretty much all of them. Actually, we do get either a clear explanation for some are obvious. You have super speed, it's super speed, which also led into the fact that RWBY's semblance is not, in fact, speed, which I didn't know how to feel about that at first. I was like, oh, that's interesting, because it's like, oh, here RWBY has some other thing that she just, like, she doesn't know anything about herself. Like, that's like the thing with RWBY, apparently. Like, she just got like all these powers just coming out of nowhere, and it's like, I didn't know I could do that. But at the same time, I was like, that makes perfect sense, because speed was dumb for a woman who turned into flowers. Like, there's been moments where she's literally, and I think it's in this volume that it happened, and I'm sure it's been more than once, but she's used her semblance before where she's literally split around an enemy and come back together. And I'm like, well, that's obviously not just super speed. Like, you aren't just splitting yourself up. There's a lot of talk to that as far as after images and whatnot, but it was like, clearly she morphed and like separated and then came back into a thing. Obviously, when she grabs other people, different elements happen. Like, someone mentioned that in the last volume, when she was actually teaming up with Weiss, there was like a white rose petal that actually came out because Weiss was kind of wrapped up in there. I didn't notice that before, but somebody did. So you have to check that on your own. I didn't bother to fact check that, but I was like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. Also, just in general, the things that she does, like, yeah, she can move super fast, but I wouldn't consider that super speed. It's her like moving from one location to another, but I would assume, with super speed being what it is, just like with Harriet in this episode, I'm sure she could do more than just run fast. Like, if she wanted to utilize her semblance, I'm sure she could specifically just stand still and look around really fast. Like, super speed is like your body just moves super fast. It doesn't mean you only run fast. You can do everything at super speed. They could change it, of course. It's their version of super speed, so that could be a little bit different for this. So we'll see about that, a little later on. But Ace Ops is awesome. I love all the characters. I think they're all really cool. We get a lot of interesting info on the characters, either through the visuals of what their semblances are. We get a lot more on their personalities and things like that. So that was great. Harriet is officially new waifu, because that was awesome. So I'm on like the little wiki here. I didn't realize this because I don't know I don't know every freaking fairy tale and this and that. So I wanted to go through the characters and what they're actually based off of. And the one that interested me the most was Clover. And the reason he uses the fishhook is because he is based on a fisherman's good luck. I don't think I'd ever heard of that before, but I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And the fact that his semblance was good luck, opposed to Crow's bad luck, or fortune, if you will. I was like, that makes sense. That's why he's using the fisherman's hook, because it's like, you can use any stupid random item you want if your fortune is, you get good fortune from your semblance. Because I'm like, otherwise, that's crazy. You can't do much with a fishing hook. It just doesn't do much for you. But when you have good fortune and you can like whip a freaking fish hook behind like the 1-inch space between a spirit's mask and its spirit, dust controlled body, is like, yeah, I guess that makes sense now. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. And so then we have Vine and Elm, who are based on the Elm and the Vine. Never heard of that either. But I feel like their semblance is what interests me the most, because I'm like, all right, clearly they don't look like they're related. So I was so curious. I was like, all right, do they have real semblances, or are we gonna get like, altered experimental, like they made those semblances for those characters? Because of course Vine has the arms, and then Elm has the feet, because of course she's like an elm tree, and also that's why she's so tall. It made sense. Although everyone's super, like I mentioned in the last episode, I think they showed the charts, like everyone's like over 6 feet except for Harriet. And it's just like, oh, that's interesting, because their semblances are obviously connected to each other. Like, one gets arms, one gets feet. But also in the world of RWBY, it's like, well, did they get those naturally and it just happened to come across that way? Or are they going to build on that? And it's like, no, we actually gave them these semblances, because we have heard of other people's semblances. I don't want to get into like a bunch of My Hero Academia type stuff, but we've heard it where, in Mercury's case, his father's semblance was to take other people's semblances. Now, we never heard whether or not he could use other people's powers when he took them or anything like that. But I was like, man, that would be interesting. And if they had that, whether it's through another person who can, swap semblances or just create semblances, or if it's just, purely science, I would love to get an explanation on that. Because I was like, like I said, they don't look alike in any way, shape, or form. They don't look like they're blood relatives. They totally could be. But it was just like, that's an interesting thing. And you could totally build on that. It could just be an insane coincidence. Just like anyone having super speed. Like, you have a bunch of different people with super speed. well, and, of course, insane coincidence of Crow being like, well, I get bad fortune. It's like, oh, check it out, I get good fortune. So coincidences all over the effing place. That's just story writing. But I would love it if it became a little bit more than that. I think that'd be very cool. So I love that just because of all the questions it brought up. Could be something, could be nothing. So that I thought was really cool. Like the point of the episode was Ace Ops, and they're freaking awesome. I love them for sure. Like I said, Harriet, new waifu. She has super speed, which is always like my favorite superpower, and she looks good. And they give her the exoskeleton, which was such a good idea. I've never thought of that before, but it was like to balance out her super speed, they gave her something that would give her super strength. And I was like, that's just a simple but genius idea. And I was like, I've never, you never really see that with super speed. It's always like, you have super speed, you just run around, and when you have super speed, you kind of have super strength anyway if you go into all the crazy physics of it. But I thought that was such a good idea. I was like, oh man, that's really sweet. She gets the exoskeleton for strength because, of course, she's not always just running at super speed, but it looked really cool. So I was like, that's a really cool idea. Like, I just thought that was a great concept for her. So moving from the main objective of this episode, which was, of course, Ace Ops, there's a lot to talk about because this was like, here's all the new stuff. Here's what we've been waiting to see. New weapons, new costumes. All in all, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. Crow even has his new outfit, which was great. Nothing much with him as far as upgrades. They do reference the fact that more upgrades are desired, not from the characters, but from Pietro himself. He was like, I have some other upgrades that I think you guys could use, but for now, this should suffice. So I thought that was cool, so we might see even more stuff. Unfortunately, one of the bits of technology that we saw was, of course, the shield thing with Jean, and it was super funny. All the times I rewatched the opening just to hear the song, just to look at the visuals and figure out, like, what did they show us? What didn't they show us? Not once did I think, maybe that shield's just technology, literally until this episode. Like, I was watching the opening and I was like, I'm stupid. That's probably just technology. And as soon as he jumped out, it was a shield and he floated down. And I was like, of course it's technology. That's not a semblance. So that was funny. Like, it didn't click literally until the episode. And I was like, that could just be a force field coming out of the shield and they just made it new. And I was like, that's exactly what happened. So I was done with that. Theory was wrong. Had some merit. You gotta admit that. What has no merit, in my world at least, was how him getting like 2 inches of a laser shield allowed him to just gently float to the ground. I was like, I don't see how that works. But also it's RWBY, so it is what it is. But I do like it. I thought it was great. The shield idea, it made so much sense. Like, he's the sword and shield guy. Upgrade the shield. You can't do much to upgrade the sword. Because they would have to do a lot more to it to like change the metal and stuff like that compared to, well, I mean, the shield itself was metal. Obviously, he did a bunch of crazy technology and it was within whatever span of time it's been. So they could have if they wanted to, but I thought it was cool. I was like, all right, this is sweet. One little scene that I thought was really great for Jean was actually the scene where he looks into the box where he looks at the new outfit and he's looking at the little cloth that he has left of Pyrrha. And at first when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's him. They're just going through this transition because I think I happened to look away. I didn't notice like what was really happening in that scene. But I loved it because it was him. Like, of all the characters, Jean is the one who's changed the least when you really think about it. Like, he had his very dramatic moment, of course, with Pyrrha. That was his first big change. And he got his new costume, which is how, they revealed the bunny on his hoodie, which was great. But that was his first big thing. And that was like a step forward because it was imbuing the gold of Pyrrha's costume into his costume and, of course, keeping the cloth and everything. And then this was like another change. And it was like, man, it's another step forward and it's another step away from who he was, when he loved this girl. Or, well, really when she loved him and he didn't even realize it. And I thought that was a good scene. And like I said, I didn't even notice it the first time. And it was just him like looking at the cloth. Like, it was just a dramatic thing because he's changing costumes. But I was like, there's a lot to that. Like, he literally, especially one of the biggest things was the fact that he no longer has his hoodie. Like, I didn't notice that in the opening before, and I noticed, I was like, something's different. I was like, he doesn't have his hoodie. Like, it's a straight circle, collar around his neck. It's not his hoodie anymore, which is another big thing. Like, he kept that through the costume change because that was him. Like, that was him as a child. The pants, like, this scraggly teenage kid, he's basically the Shaggy of RWBY, if you think about it. He's the dude with the scraggly long hair. He had the same jeans all the time. Like, it was that character. And so this was that big development for him in a lot of different ways. He changed the hair, he changed the pants, the outfit is different. He's got like a military sort of look to him and stuff. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Like, there's a lot more to it than I actually noticed until I like rewatched that scene. So I loved it for sure. Him coming down, them doing their landing stuff. Like I said, it was cool, and he does like his little thing. He's got a new landing strategy, which is good for him. The times have changed. Times have definitely changed. So that was great. But it was cool. They have their cool landing and everything, and of course, Ren and Nora, they both look great. Ren, I think, Ren and Jean had upgrades, and I think Nora just had a new outfit because I was like, they didn't do anything for her, for her hammer, in either regards, like whether it's in hammer form or gun form. Nothing really changed. It was just her outfit. They did give her like a little, like an arm guard that was almost like a angel's wing, and I was like, well, that's super cool because it's a Valkyrie like angelic wing. So I was like, that's super sweet, and it was just like a little thing on the side. So I was like, I noticed that, I caught that. So that was cool. But Ren has like, of course, his new costume. I didn't notice that he had the little dagger on his shoulder, which totally fits for him. The outfit itself is cool. The gun, his guns can like shoot out and attach to enemies now. That totally fits for him as well. So that was pretty cool. So I love the new outfits. Everything they did, for all three of them, I think was cool. I do hope that we get to see a little bit more from Nora, like we just because it would be cool to see her get to do new stuff. So that'd be awesome. But I thought their costumes were great. I don't know how I'm gonna feel. It depends how they do this. But Jean's outfit, the whole thing with the sword being like literally attached to his arm, I thought that looked a little weird because I was like, okay, if it was a short sword, sure, that would be different. But it's a full on. He has a great sword. He has a broadsword, I guess. And so I'm like, that's a bit different to just have that on your arm, like, and it's the full length of your arm, and you swing, you just hit something off a table or anything like that, which kind of fits John's character. But I was like, I feel like that part specifically would look a little weird. It makes sense to have the shield on your arm permanently, but obviously the shield is also the sheath for the sword, and like I said, the sword is a normal size sword. So I don't know how I'm gonna feel about that if he's walking around the rest of the series and he just has the sword like on his arm the whole time. I feel like that would look weird. It would be one thing if it was like an actual blade and it just went down and that was just how he fought. That would be one thing. The only reference I can think of for that would be like the old game Blood Rain. So sorry if you don't get that reference, but if you look it up, she has like blades that go down her arm and stuff. So I was like, I could see it if it was that, but it's just a sword in the sheath. And so I was like, it kind of looks weird, but it also makes a ton of sense. So like, I don't know, it depends how it looks. Because if he's walking around, even outside of combat, and the dude just has a sword like hanging off his arm the whole time, that's gonna look weird to me. It'll just throw me off a little bit. But I like the costumes, like the new upgrades for the character. So I thought that was pretty cool. It totally got me. Like I said, right in the opening, I was like, dang, it's technology. But it is what it is. Still looks super cool. And of course, it has like the explosion. Like when he hits the ground, it allows for him to like push off the ground, like it shoots a seismic wave out. When they fight their first little group of enemies, it shoots out a wave, when he slams it on the ground, and it sends the enemies flying back. So I was like, that's super cool too. So I can't wait to see more of that in action. But they were cool. Of course, that also leads to Team RWBY and their new outfits and their new upgrades for the weapons. I can't really say like their new weapons or anything. I thought it was good. I think I've kind of mentioned this before. I may have talked about it a little bit in the opening. Some stuff I did like and didn't like Jean's hair and everything, which I was also fine with. Like seeing it in action, I was like, okay, I get the change. I get why they did the change. It's the more grown up look. And for the girls, I thought it was fine. I still think Weiss has like the coolest one. I don't mind Ruby's. I feel like she has the least. Like her and Blake have the least upgrades, but definitely RWBY. Like it's so hard to tell because her color. It's so the same every single time that it's hard to even look at her costume and be like, oh, that's what's different. Like I have to literally look at it like side by side to be like, oh, that's how it's changed. Because it's so, like it barely ever does. Except for like, I think like volume 3 and 4 when it did, because it was like brighter in the middle. And now it's gone back to being darker in the middle. It just looks like the original outfit almost. Like obviously there's slight differences, but I was like, okay, I like it. I like her new hairstyle too. I think it's cool. Blake's, I'm not as big of a fan of. I think I mentioned that before. The shorter hair, I just feel like it doesn't look right for the show. That's just my personal opinion on it. Her outfit, I think, looks cool. I like the jacket, and I like the fact that she has like the zipper jacket, but she unzips it, like which I would assume would be for better movement. So I thought that was kind of cool. Also, they put like a little bandage on her blade, and of course it's yellow. So I was like, obviously that's for Bumblebee shipping. So I thought that was pretty neat. But that was cool, and of course, Yang has a moment with Blake where it's like, I'm just not used to the new hair. And it's like, no, it's good, it's great even, and stuff like that. So the cute little banter there. Like I said, Weiss, I just love her outfit. Like it's ultra regal, and it just makes sense. Not too many upgrades, so we might see more from her as well. But still thought it was cool. Yang's outfit, I still like the least. No joke. As soon as she takes the glasses off, though, it's like at least 50% better. Like I just hate those orange glasses. I was like, I miss her old bomber glasses. Like it just fits so well. Like the old bomber glasses were just like perfect. Like that outfit just worked. And the bomber glasses, I think, almost worked with every outfit she has had. But this one looks the least like her other stuff, but also it's winterized. So these are like their winter costumes. So I think after Well, they'll probably keep it because they'll do at least 3 or so volumes, the normal thing at this point. So probably be like 3 volumes before they switch again. But it kind of makes sense to be the winterized version. Although Ruby's outfit looks exactly the same. I just can't stand those glasses, like the orange tint, and I was just like, they just don't look cool. They just do not look cool, and Yang is the coolest there is. So I don't like them. The outfit I don't like as much, but like I said, the glasses also make it worse. I feel like the jacket isn't as cool as her other jackets have been. Like she had the Wild West Duster jacket, her old classic jacket, which was kind of a bomber style, and this is also a bomber jacket too, but it still just doesn't look as cool to me. I don't hate it, but I did realize like once the glasses came off, I was like, oh, it looks 100. Like it just looks so much better without those orange glasses because they just look so weird to me. So outfits are fine. Have my ups and downs with them. I think everyone's kind of hit or miss. I don't think I've seen any comment where everyone's like, I love every single outfit and every single change. Like it's typically it'll probably come down to Jean or Blake or Yang. Those tend to be like the three big things where it's like I don't like those something with those characters, and I can totally see it. But I like the new outfits. I like the new upgrades. I would love to see even more upgrades. Yang has detonators now where she can punch like little bombs into people. That's super cool. Probably won't use them on actual people. But who knows? Who knows how hardcore things might end up getting. But I thought it was great. I thought that was really cool. The episode in general was just the cool action episode. We also had a new song. I still like the opening song more than this song personally. But good episode. All in all, like I said, it was really just the action episode. The characters teaming up, doing cool things. Ace Ops being epic, at the end of the episode, doing their whole thing. And then, of course, Tyrion shows up. Sadly, he kills bottle throwing guy. I was like, oh, hey, there's bottle throwing guy. And he killed him. Also, Tyrion's eyes changed from yellow to purple. Don't know what that means. Don't know if that's been a thing before and they just never drew attention to it or what the case was. But I was like, I don't know if that's because when he's about to, like, strike someone with venom, his eyes change color. Don't know what the deal was there, but I was like, as far as I know, that's new. I've never noticed that before, ever. But also, I don't pay that much attention to people's eye color, which, oddly enough, I probably should in this show, all things considered. But it was interesting, and definitely a good episode. I'm hoping the next episode, they actually show the villains and what they're doing, and it's not just another tease. Because I kind of get annoyed with that after a while, especially with this show. The episodes being so short. The last thing I want is like constant teases. I'm like, look, I feel like we never get that many episodes anyway per volume. The episodes are so short, and to constantly end, in like 5 episodes in a row with the villain teaser, that would annoy me. So hopefully in the next episode, or at least the one after the next, we'll get like an official, just like, this is what the villains are actually doing. This is who they're meeting up with, if they're meeting other people, which I assume they are. So that's what I'm hoping. That who knows if that's really going to be the case, but I don't know what else they could really do outside of being like, all right, let's get to the villain stuff, because after this we've seen Ace Ops, we're going to see them get spied on, so that might be what pops up in the next episode, and we'll see more of Penny. We might see CL, Penny's other partner. That would be great, because I mentioned before, I love her character design. Might see Flint Cole, might see Neon Cat. Be cool to see them pop up as well. But either way, fun episode. I like what we got to see. Also, I totally forgot the dude's name, but his semblance, where he's the dog character, I totally forgot his name just now. Apparently, his thing is based off of the dog and its reflection. I don't know what that is, Marrow. So I'm guessing his semblance, if it's based off of the whole thing with the reflection, I think whatever he does when he activates his semblance, that's what his enemy does. So since he was standing still, that's what froze the centipedes in place for Harry to come in and kind of take him down. That's just my theory on it, obviously, but if it's going off of anything and its reflection, if he's moving, they're moving. If he's standing still, they're standing still. I don't know how far they would go with that, if that's even accurate, of course. But we'll end up seeing what happens. And, of course, Harry, the tortoise in the hair. Don't know if we'll see anyone come up, who does, like, the opposite as far as slow motion. I don't know how you would do that. That would suck for them as a semblance. But either way, love the new characters. We'll see what happens with them being spied on. But so far, I really like them. I think they're very cool. I like what they did with this episode. Also, Weiss and Blake had some good moments when they first go into the cave. That's why I flipped their things to like the old style, because they both have their old moments where it's like, this was tragic. They've kind of done that a bunch. It was just another moment of that where it's like, oh, Weiss being like, man, I wish I wasn't so just blasé about everything that used to go on. And, they've changed. It was kind of them just having that little moment where it's like, we've changed. We've gotten past the crappy things that have happened to us. Weiss has to deal with her, her bad past. Blake has literally stabbed her to death, so she's good, at least a little bit. And so Weiss has to do that. I don't know if she'll like stab her dad or anything like that, but we'll see what happens because the dude might deserve it. Like I don't like him. I'll just say that. He may or may not deserve it. I don't know. I'm just saying. But really enjoyed the episode. Of course, we'd love to know what you guys thought about it. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. And I would love to know your favorite members of Team Clover or Ace Ops. I want to always call them Team Clover just because of Clover, but they are just Ace Ops. So I would love to know your favorite member. And if you don't have a favorite member, what is your favorite power? Obviously, Harriet is mine. Best looks, best power. Exoskeleton looks even cool. Like, they all have great designs, but she has the best one and she's the prettiest. So that's just my opinion and fact. But would love to know your thoughts on everything. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.